Ooh, it's a gray day out there. New Year's Eve. You see that little tree is blooming. It's been so warm, but today it's gray and rainy. It's chilly, but it's not as cold as it should be. Thanks, climate change. Hey everybody, welcome to the Evening Reader, or welcome back. My name is Priscilla, and it is New Year's Eve, and I'm here to talk about January and plans for reading in January and a little bit beyond in 2024. I hope that you are doing well out there today. Before I get going, I just want to say thank you to everybody who has visited my channel. And I really appreciate it. It's been a really exciting and fun 9 months, and I'm really looking forward to the next year. So I'm doing this kind of backwards. I haven't done my top reads yet, and I haven't done that because I wanted to finish this, The Bee Queen by Louise Erdrich. Spoiler alert, I wanted to see if this was going to make the list. It's not going to make the list, and I'm not quite finished with it. I have about 70 pages left, so I probably will be finishing that. I'm not going to make it to 58 books, 57 books. I'm not a stats person, but if you follow me on Goodreads, you know I read about a book a week typically, so I did a little bit better this year, I guess. Probably because of Shorty September, and maybe because of a couple of trips with long plane rides where there was nothing, good to watch, and I ended up reading. So, yeah. So finishing this up, this is really good. This is for Remember December, and I will talk about it in more detail in a Remember December wrap up. But it's a good book, but it's not a top read for me for 2023. Okay, so we'll talk about 2023 in another video. So I've got through that. I wanted to talk a little bit about plans for 2024, and pretty excited about it. The first thing is that I am planning to do, I am trying to do the Read Your Own Books challenge. So I'm trying to focus on books that I already own, books that are already on my shelf. That's my primary goal. And so one of the things I decided to do was join the Historathon read-along for 2024. And I will put the information in the description box below. There are several hosts. I will put all the host names and one of the videos with the announcement below. But essentially, for each quarter, we're reading. Sorry, I've got to turn. I have a space heater on, and it's like setting me on fire. Each quarter, it's based around a different time period. So the first quarter will be prehistory to the year 500, then the year 500 to the year 1500, then the year 1500 to 1820. This is each quarter. And then 1820 to present day for the final quarter of 2024. So for the first quarter, I have chosen 2 books to read, and that will be Foundation by Peter Ackroyd, which is a history of England. I believe it's from prehistory up to, I want to say the Tudors. I'm not sure. I'll have to say, I guess, below. I've really heard wonderful things about Peter Ackroyd. I know he's not necessarily, maybe by some people, considered to be, a very maybe, I don't want to say serious, because I think that he's a serious historian, but the way that he writes is maybe more narrative and maybe a little bit more general for a general type of reader. And that, I guess in this case, that would be me. I really wanted to read that before I started to read read that book and his book on the Tudors before I started the Wolf Hall series. So, which I'm planning to read later. I was going to do the Wolf Hall read along, but I decided to wait on that. So I'm going to be reading Foundation by Peter Ackroyd. The other book that I'm picking for the Historathon for the first quarter is Cleopatra by Stacy Schiff, which I have had on my Kindle for a very long time to read. I've started to read it several times and then set it aside. Not for any bad reason, not because I didn't like it, not because I didn't like Schiff's writing. It just was something where I would start it and something else would catch my eye, and this just happens. So this time I think will be a charm. I'll be focused on it and I can get through it. So my plan is to do 2 books per quarter for the Historathon, and I think for the second quarter, which would be the year 500 to the year 1500, I have 2 books selected that I've had on my shelf for a very long time, and that's 1491 and 1493 by Charles C. Mann. And this is New Revelations of the Americas Before Columbus, and this is Uncovering the New World Columbus Created. I bought these probably back in 2010 or 2011, I think. And they've been on my shelf a long time, so I'm very excited about the possibility of reading these also. I've got some other options. I've got another pile of possibilities. I've got a lot of books, particularly for the last quarter, from 1820 to the present day. I'm not even sure how I'm going to pick. So I will talk about those, but those are for the first 2 quarters. Those are my books are my focus. And then I have a much larger pile of possibilities for the year 1500 up to the present day. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. So I'll just push that down the road and not worry about it until I have to. How's that? I'm clearly not giving up procrastination. That's not one of my goals for 2024, so we'll just go on. Anyway, my first quarter of the year I feel like it's pretty full right now. It's like kind of a lot is already planned, and particularly for somebody like me who only reads 4 or 5 books a month, it's things have stacked up pretty quickly, in a good way. I'm excited about it. In January, I'm going to be doing a buddy read with a real life friend, because you all are imaginary friends. And it's a friend of mine who lives in Atlanta, who I've mentioned before, who I buddy read with all the time. Her name is Shala, and we have been buddy reading together off and on since 2003. And we both this past year read Tom Lake and really enjoyed it. And I said, and as I've told you all, I think Tom Lake is Ann Patchett's best book. And Shala said, "What about Bel Canto?" And I said, I don't know, because I haven't read Bel Canto in 20 years. And she said, "Well, let's read it." And the thing is that Bel Canto was the first book that Shala and I ever read together as buddy readers in 2003. So we're going to reread this and see what we think. And I'm pretty excited about this. I cannot imagine that I am not going to love this book, although I don't always get along with Ann Patchett's writing. I mean, I think she's a wonderful writer. I'm not at a sentence level, at a character development level. For the most part, I don't have a lot of qualms, but she can be really hit or miss for me. I think I've mentioned I didn't really like The Dutch House very much. I didn't particularly like her novel Run. I didn't particularly like her novel The Magician's Assistant, so there are some misses for me. She's kind of what Daniel at Guilty Feet would call an accidental author. So I'm looking forward to rereading this and seeing what I think. And if I remember, it had that really controversial ending. If you've read it, you'll know. And I want to see, I think I remember feeling like it was the right ending at the time, but I want to see if I feel the same about that now. So that's gonna be an interesting read. Next up, or really not next up, first up, tomorrow, January 1st, I'm going to be reading 84 Charing Cross Road by Helen Haff. And I am doing that as part of a read along that Sarah from Hardcover Hearts has she's kind of put the call out on social media, on Instagram, and then I think she mentioned it on her channel that this was going to be a thing for the first day. She starts every year with that book. It's one of her favorite books of all time, and it just sounded like a lot of fun. It sounded like a really nice book to start the year off with. So I'm going to be picking up that and reading that tomorrow. So that'll be my first book of the year as well. The next book that I'm planning to read in January, which is another little slim volume, and I guess we'll see how things go tomorrow and how much, if I get 84 Charing Cross Road read, I may also then pick up this and read it. And this is A Horse at Night, writing by Amina Kane. And I've had this on my TBR for a long time. It's a slim little volume, and it is Amina Kane, her thoughts on the writing of other writers that she loves, including Marguerite Duras, Elena Ferrante, Renee Gladman, and Virginia Woolf. I really love to read the meditations of writers on other writers. That's more appealing to me than reading just like a book on writing, even if it's by a favorite writer, although I can enjoy that as well. I really enjoy looking at how writers consider the works of other writers. I think that's some of the most telling information about the writing process and what matters to different writers. So I'm looking forward to reading this also, probably tomorrow or on Tuesday. I'm trying not to think about Tuesday since back to work. So the other books that I've got on the docket for January and sort of beyond, so the other thing that I'm planning on for January is there's a group of booktubers doing the Past and Future Readathon in January. And my mom, who does not have a booktube channel, heard about this, and she thought that the prompts looked really fun, and she was like, do you want to do that? Would you want to do that? And I said, well, I would like to, but I already had some things lined up, and also I think it ends up being about 8. I think there are 8 prompts, so it would be, even though you could probably cross books, I was like, I don't know if I can do all the books, but we did decide that we would sort of try to take the prompts and read some of the books, and we're reading different books, but we're sort of doing the Past and Future Readathon, but sort of not doing it. So very sorry to the hosts that we're not totally following the rules. We're probably going to carry it on into January, but we have picked out books for most of the prompts. And so my books are, I've got 3, I think. I've got, for my past, one that's been on my TBR for a very long time to read is, I think it's like the oldest book on your shelf or the oldest book on your TBR. That's what I think that means. Not like the oldest book on your shelf by publishing date. And that is The Slaves of Solitude by Patrick Hamilton. I have had this book on my shelf since 2009. I got it for Christmas in 2009, and I wanted to read it because at the time I had a book blog and I had seen other bloggers talking about this book. And then very recently I heard Sarah at Hardcover Hearts talk about this book, and she said it was just fabulous. She absolutely loved it. And so I was like, well, I probably should get to it since it's just been sitting on my shelf. So this was the book that I picked for that particular prompt, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. And then the other book that I picked, the other prompt that we had was a new book, a new book on your TBR, something that's brand new. And so I am going to read Collected Works by Lydia Sandgren. And I have heard amazing things about this book. Heidi at My Reading Life, Sean the Book Maniac, and Brian at Bookish. This actually made his top 10 fiction books of 2023. So heard so many fabulous things about this book. I'm very excited to read it, and I will be doing that in January. The other prompt was a series, start a series. I think these were optional prompts, but I am already had on my TBR as part of the TBR spin. I had decided to read, or didn't decide to read, but it was one of my picks, and it was one of the ones that came up on the spin. Conviction by Denise Mina. So that will be another book that I will be picking up in January. So it's going to be a busy month. I'm really excited about it though. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great reading month. I really hope so. And I probably just jinxed myself one way or another by saying that, but you know, we can always dream. The other thing I'm going to start in January, and this will be something that I will just be reading a little bit of each day as I get back into my writing routine. I'm so excited. I have been working on a book, working on a novel for about 2.5 years now. It's technically by the calendar about 3 years, but I took 6 months off almost to focus on the Dutch language study. And I had as a goal for 2023 to get a first draft completed of that. And well, it didn't happen. I said because I set it aside. And so now that's a goal of mine in 2024 is to try to get a first draft of this book done, no matter how rough it is. I have to do a little aside here and say I felt a little bit better because I was watching Katie at Books and Things. I was watching the announcement video for her second book, whose name I cannot think of, but I'll put it here somewhere and I'll link her video. But she was talking about the second book, and the second book is actually the first book that she wrote, that she started writing. She started, I think she said 8 years ago, and then it was just a struggle. There were a lot of changes, there were a lot of revisions, there was a lot of research, and it took a long time. And in that time period, then I think just to sort of help with some frustration, she said she ended up writing The Secrets of Hardwood Hall. And I thought that was really funny, and it made me feel better that, you know, it's been 2.5 years and I'm still just really struggling to figure out what the story is. And I have these characters that I love and I cannot abandon them, so I'm just gonna push forward. Anyway, to help with that, and just, you know, sort of as like a way each day to think about creativity and think about writing, I picked up The Creative Act, A Way of Being by the music producer Rick Rubin. And these are just basically like meditations on being a creative person and looking at the world in a creative way. And so I just think that'll be kind of fun to dip into and read a little bit of each day until I'm done with it. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's see what else. I've got February and March are filling up. I've got 3 buddy reads starting in February that I'm so excited about. I'm going to be reading If on a Winter's Night, A Traveler by Italo Calvino, with Dia from Novel Idea and Sandy from This Reads a Lot. And then I am going to be reading The Singapore Grip, J.G. Farrell's final book in his trilogy that now I can't remember the name of the trilogy. But we decided that we would try to read that together in February. Roz, did I say with Roz at Skelly talking about the books? Okay. This is how the day has been all day. And then I'm also going to be starting to read, I guess you would call it the Holt Trilogy by Kent Harif, but the books Plain Song, Eventide, and Benediction. Sonia from An Enthusiastic Reader and I are going to read those 3 books together this year, and we're going to start with Plain Song in February. So I am just so excited about all 3 of those books. And then in March, Heidi from My Reading Life and I are going to read The Sleeping Car Porter. And then I do believe also that Sarah from Roadworthy Reads and I are going to read Abide With Me by Elizabeth Strout. So, I mean, this was what was on the docket. I know that plans can change and things can change, but this is what we've got right now, and I am really excited about all of it. And then I have a great pile of possibilities. I have a lot of terrific books on my shelf. I'm very excited, but I'm going to confess I did buy some books. I did buy some books over the holidays. I took advantage of some sales, and I will share those books with you, but tomorrow the book buying slowdown goes back into effect, and I focus then again on my shelf for, the foreseeable future, unless I need to buy a book for an event, or I can buy 1 book a month. So, we'll see how it goes. I don't have to buy a book, but I can buy a book. It's just that I have to read it, like, within a short period of time. I can't just let it sit on the shelf. So, all right. So that's 2024 for now. And I hope that you have a wonderful and safe new year out there. I hope that wherever you are and whatever you're doing, that you are taking care of yourself and that things are either super exciting and fun or nice, quiet, and cozy. And I look forward to seeing you again in the new year, when I will be back with my favorite books of 2023 and the Q&A and hopefully other fun things. I'm looking forward to it. So thank you for being here, and take care. And let me know what you're reading, what your 2024 plans are, and I look forward to it. I'll see you soon. Bye. I really like reading. Okay, I'll have to edit this part out. I really enjoy that, reading how writers look at other writers. So I'm looking forward to the next thing that I'm planning to do in February. So there's a group of booktubers. Okay.